I think it can be it's pretty open-ended, but kind of um your path leading up to CC, kind of what experiences stand out to you.
Mm,
Um, and then I'm also interested in like how you've changed since joining CC or how you feel you've changed. Um, so yeah, like at what point do you feel like you became unhinged? Where
mm,
where did you break from the norm? How did you get here, Jesse?
mm. When did I become unhinged? Well, I think I was, yeah, in my youth, I was pretty depressed and just in a bad place. Um, and I was trying to fix it in various ways. A lot of um, dissociating, playing video games,
Hmm.
you know, just taking what society had to offer. Um, and it just kept getting worse. So eventually I started exerting more to try to like find a real solution, I guess. Um, and eventually I found like a YouTube video by the Beatles where they were talking about LSD. And they were like, you do it once and then you're more creative, you're lighter, you're happier forever. So I was like, oh, like something that is an actual permanent change. Like it's not just a drug. Because like you hear about drugs and it's like you have to keep taking them. You become addicted, but this is like a permanent change. So that started my journey into psychedelics. Um, so yeah, I'm trying to think because I took them for fun at first. That was always kind of my intention was for a real change. But eventually it was like, oh, okay, I want to take this further. And I'd read about ego death experiences and stuff like that. And yeah, eventually did a 24-hour fast and then took 3 tabs in the evening. And that basically is the point where I lost my shit. Or I don't, how did you put it? Went off the rails.
Yeah, got
Yeah,
unhinged.
got unhinged. Yep.
Yeah.
So it was traumatic, but it did
Hmm.
kind of give me something to start orienting towards of like, okay, the world is not what I thought it was. It's like
Hmm.
completely different. So,
Yeah, how'd you integrate the experience?
mm, yeah,
And how long did it take?
it took years. It took
Yeah.
years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a long time. Um, a lot of experimentation,
Mm.
uh, continuing to take psychedelics, um, and then eventually, the bad experiences, um, became more frequent. So then I decided I needed to stop. And then the aftershocks of that were still playing out. So I was trying to like find the correct set of supplements or like nootropics to take to try to fix myself, I guess. Not only from the traumatic experience, but just in general. Just like I need to be more social. Um, I have anxiety, all these different things. And I'm like, okay, I'm like broken in some way, and maybe chemically I can fix myself.
Mm.
Uh, and then eventually I was like, okay, I'm just making the problem worse with all of this. So then I dropped it, and that's around the time I found Science of Enlightenment by Shinzen Young. So yeah, and then that I think is when the real integration started happening of like, okay, this work is actually aligning with that experience. And I see like over time, there's still lots of up and downs, but I can see that suffering is reducing, like the trend is trending down.
Hmm.
Um, and that I think, yeah, allowed me to connect with that experience again without all of the resistance that was there in the first when I had it.
Yeah. Yeah, that book was my entry point into meditation and enlightenment and all of that. So I was really grateful to have I think just a pretty broad view as an introduction,
Mm-hmm.
um, like a integrative approach, like one that like sees the commonalities across different traditions, and then yeah. So where did you go from there?
Yeah. So I felt like, yeah, I was finally, because I had been kind of throughout that whole process trying to meditate and it never really seemed to work or still continued to make things worse. So I felt like I finally started getting my, like a ground or a basis of training through that book. Um, and I was familiar with Frank's videos. Um, and I think in one of his videos, he was like, after you can sit for an hour, you should go do a Vipassana retreat. So I did, I followed Shinzen's instructions. I don't know if they were in his book or if they were from YouTube videos, but of doing long determination sits just without moving. So I built up to an hour. Um, and then I was like, okay, time to do a retreat. So that led to doing two retreats, 1 year apart. And yeah, after each one, I think I would tell people like my base level of suffering decreased by like around 10% from doing this 10-day retreat. And I was really passionate about that and trying to spread the news.
Hmm.
Um, and then I started reading Robert Bia, the Seeing That Freeze. Um, and I was really into him, was really passionate about his teachings. Um, and so I continued, I think there was a longer break between retreats because that was around COVID time. So maybe a year or 2 years after my last one, I did another Vipassana retreat. And I was pretty unsatisfied with it, with what I had been learning from Robert Bia. The way that they taught, I felt like they were missing a lot. And there are a lot of like younger people there. And I really felt like they were disservicing them. Just the way of teaching, because like you have the opportunity to talk to the teacher a little bit, but not really. You're just kind of trying to figure it out on your own with really minimal instructions. And it's super rigid. So Robert Bia talks about like this playful energy. You have to experiment. You have to tend to yourself, be gentle. And the Vipassana retreats were not that. And I saw people paying the cost for that. So that was my last um, Vipassana retreat. After that, I still wanted to do retreats, but I just started following. I would go off on my own and follow Robert Bia's recorded retreats instead. So I did two of those. Um, I started with his jhana retreat,
Hmm.
and that opened up a lot. Um, just seeing that all of my craving for like pleasurable states through drugs and all of that could be totally, well, the jhanas blew them out of the water, really. It was like, yeah, I mean, it's not like the same thing, but as far as satisfaction and like subtlety, it was like, okay, jhanas are actually better than like a MDMA experience in that way. There's actually a lot of suffering going on in MDMA experience. Um, so at that point, I was like, okay, I'm kind of all in on Dharma. Like this is the center of my life, and everything else is going to adjust to it. Um, and then I did his emptiness retreat a year later, and um, throughout that, um, I was still building that aspiration, and to the point where I was looking for like monasteries, looking at Zen monasteries and things like that, because I would do these retreats and then go home and like for the jhanas, like I really couldn't absorb very deeply outside of the retreat. Um, and just kind of began struggling with it. And then that started building more craving. Um, and I was like, okay, if I want to go all in, I have to make a change. Um, and then I saw Frank advertising CC stuff. So I was like, okay, maybe that's another option where I can still live my life, but without throwing it all away and trying to do the monastery thing. So yeah, during that emptiness retreat, I applied for CC. So
Cool. Hmm. So yeah, how did your way you related to jhanas change
mm,
as you went through CC?
yeah, that was a big thing for me, the first cohort, because I really saw the progression um, on the path through the lens of the jhanas. So I was like, you have to develop, well, you don't have to, but it seemed to be the most steadfast way that, from what I had read, that you have to develop all the jhanas, make them pretty stable, where you can like basically just go in and out of them at will. And then you get to the eighth jhana, and then, yeah, basically you're at the edge of cessation, and then you can have cessations and then gain all the insight from that and all the freedom from jhanas of not clinging anymore to worldly things. So I was applying that to the CC pedagogy a lot. And I was trying to relate whatever we were doing to what jhanas I was accessing. Um, and eventually people were pointed out to me, the mentors and instructors, that I was clinging to them and relying on them as a way to deal with um, uncomfortable emotions, uncomfortable states. Um, and I needed to change my relationship to them. So in CC, it's kind of more like we develop these skills and you might find yourself in a jhana, and that's fine. But it's not like we're not trying to like check off the boxes like, okay, I got the first four jhanas this retreat or this cohort, next cohort, I'm gonna get up to six. And then it's like just like, oh, you got into the fourth jhana today. Interesting. Okay. What did you get out of it? What did that do for you? Anything? Because if it didn't do anything for you, you know, then we don't care. It's like that's not what we're doing. Um,
Think of like dunking and basketball. Like you got like really good at like dunking. You could do a lot like yeah. It's like but there are all these other components to the practice and like yeah, view refinement and all of that. It's like yes, you're really good at dunking and you can do the 360 dunk and I don't know my dunks, but you know, it's but yeah, it's like you still have access to and bring that skill set to. But if it's all you're focused on, then it's limited that way.
yeah.
Hmm. How yeah, how are you relating to Jonas now?
Mm. I think it would be interesting to revisit them, but I don't put my attention on them anymore. Like maybe sometimes after a set, I'll reflect and be like, oh, maybe that was the fifth jhana or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I don't. I've pretty much dropped that. Um, so I know some people in CC, it's been recommended that they focus on it. Like, there is a time and place where it's like, okay, do jhana practice, focus on the jhanas, actually try to achieve them. Like that's
Hmm.
what you need to do.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it would be interesting to take that orientation back up again and see what happens. Um, but yeah, I hold them pretty lightly and will reference them if, people are talking about them, reference my experiences and whatnot to relate with other people. Yeah.
Yeah. You've recovered. You're a recovered junkie, Jana junkie.
Yeah,
Just kidding.
yeah. I was, yeah. When I came back from retreat, the Jhana retreat, I was a Jhana junkie. I was just like trying to get my fix every set. Yeah.
But yeah, that I guess level of capacity to reliably hit the jhanas on retreat and then to not be able to do that in the context of the stress and busyness of life be yeah, potent craving.
Yeah. So I saw my one option was to like cut out everything in my life that was preventing that.
Right.
So that was the monastery route,
Hmm. Yep.
monk life. It's just like, well, if I, life is a retreat, then I can have these all the time. But CC was like, you can include everything. It's very different.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So what other ways do you feel like you've changed?
Hmm. It's hard to track that.
Yeah. Yeah, time moves a little differently.
Yeah, it feels like very long time. Um,
Hmm.
since just last week, much less last cohort. um,
Yeah. When did you start in CC?
yeah, cohort 7. So was that like close to a year ago, I think?
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I remember in my first retreat, anytime I would share, there would be so much like tension,
Mm.
and I was so uncomfortable with sharing. And people actually began, I was known as like the eyebrow guy because I would do this every time I would share because there was so much tension that that was just like one way I was
Yeah.
expressing.
Yeah.
Um, and so just like my being comfortable with expressing has been
Mm.
a big difference. Um, so that's still a practice I'm working on as I begin to talk in more, um, in positions with more responsibility, where there's even, more pressure on you. So
Hmm.
it's like a constant, you know, you bench 150 pounds, then you keep moving up. Um,
Yeah, as
so,
you get better, uh, as you get
yeah,
stronger, the weight gets heavier.
yeah. It's not,
Mhm.
yeah, that's one thing I've learned through CC. It's not like you're getting to a point and then you don't have to work anymore.
Mhm.
It's like you're just able to handle more work and without suffering. But it doesn't mean you stop working, like because you see the nature of reality, that you stop engaging, or it's the opposite. Um, so yeah, my capacity for work has increased a lot. Um, and yeah, I mean, of course, just the amount of suffering, um, and the clarity in order to be able to see what's happening and then just choose not to suffer is a big part of that. It's just like developing that disposition to just not suffer, just like to be able to, and then to choose to not.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then, I mean, there's perceptual changes that seem pretty permanent, you know, stuff like that. But it's, I don't know. It doesn't really, it's like the Johns. It's like, what
Yeah.
doesn't really matter.
Right. Yeah, it's not what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I followed Frank for a long time on YouTube. I think yeah, back to like, 9,000 calorie diet, like it's like yeah,
Mm.
2012. So yeah, I remember a part of why I um was interested in joining CC when Frank started putting stuff out for it was just like, there's almost like the promise of perceptual shift. Like that's
Yeah.
what it's all about. 360 view.
Yeah.
And maintaining that. I feel like now it's like this maturity of like realizing of like in the view refinement, it's like the ability to like maintain the view. Not just not in a perceptual permanent shift state, but like in a yeah, I guess seeing the different aggregations as having um the same qualities, and inherent like flexibility to them,
Yeah.
and seeing the function of the different aggregations and like being willing to aggregate like to aggregate in a way to serve a certain function and then not be so trapped in it as a default state.
Yeah. Being responsive
Yeah.
to the world. Yeah.
Hmm.
Actually engaging more and more. Yeah. I mean, I was thinking today actually about the seeing that freeze. It came back to me. It was like, Robert B was right. It is just like different ways of seeing. Just like that's what we're training. It's just like I can choose all these different ways of seeing. I know that none of them are inherently like the truth. Some of them are more valid than others. And I just use them to be able to interact with the world more skillfully and be more free.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So much of it, maybe all of it, just comes back to view. It's like,
Yeah.
can you hold the view? So yeah, you're within CC, you're in the Pandita team.
Mm.
So yeah, maybe talk a little bit about that, what that's been like for you.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's led by Taylor, who, if you're seeing this, you've probably seen some of his stuff. I think we've posted a lot of his transmissions out there, and he ran the last public practice week. Um, so, having him as my boss is pretty cool. Just always getting to learn from him. Um, but yeah, we are focused on um, maintaining and creating the best pedagogy for CC. Um, and we have a couple different projects going. Um, so we have the D cohort, which is for acolytes that have completed one cohort, then they can continue to deepen through that work, which is um, focused specifically on view refinement for the entire cohort. Um, and then we have some book studies that we're doing distributed through the different cohorts and yeah, running presentations. So yeah, kicking out a lot of material and just kind of maintaining the um, coherency and quality of all the teachings at CC. So there's always a lot going on. Uh, so we just try to, yeah, cohere everything.
Yeah, it's like it's a very I don't know, central. It's an important like function, important part of CC and its effectiveness. It's cool.
Yep. Yeah, that responsibility that I mentioned.
Hmm.
It's like you perform and then you move up, you get more responsibility, and then you're asked to grow further. Because without that extra pressure, you will not continue to grow as quickly, at least. So CC is provides all of that. Um, yeah, past wherever you think you're comfortable, wherever you've achieved. Um, there's always more opportunity to grow in CC.
Hmm. How is this training cycle going for you?
Yeah, it's been intense, very different than the other cohorts. Um, just because I'm leading some sessions, so relating with the material differently, more
Hmm.
from a teaching point of view, even though I'm also learning it with everyone else. So yeah, mm, yeah, definitely in that form of relationship, there's different patterns that are coming up that wouldn't normally. So yeah, it's like if you're not in a romantic relationship with someone or not exploring that territory, then that those patterns that you have, that karma is not going to be triggered. It's not going to come up for review. Um, it can, I mean, related karma can come up in other ways, but I think it would be pretty difficult to work through all of that without actually, addressing it in
Hmm.
that way and like engaging with life. Like you can just sit in a cave for 6 years and, eventually maybe it will come up. Like that's what the old masters did. But in this day and age, it's like, okay, if you want to get better at leading, at teaching, then you have to start leading and teaching and grow. Um, so in that way, yeah, Whereas previous cohorts, there was a lot of focus on myself. This cohort, a lot of it is on how I can serve um, everyone, including myself. That's not disregarding myself. Um, and yeah, I I think that orientation um, has produced a lot of growth because it's in the way I'm relating to the material. I have to understand it at a level that I can teach it. And that's just
Hmm.
like a generally for everyone, if you're ever learning something, to be able to teach it, that's a good learning strategy. Um, so that alone, I've seen a lot of growth. And this is all material I've gone over before. And like I did D last cohort. Um, and I mean, the material is never exactly the same. It's always being adjusted to fit the dynamics of any cohort. But it is review in some way. Um, so yeah, had some really difficult weekends and weeks, um, which led to extreme like growth and change and insight and view refinement. Um, so yeah, really thankful for all that. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to track sometimes, or it's not hard to track. It's hard to communicate, I think.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And yeah, there's only so much you can communicate to someone who's not like experiencing it or has experienced it too.
yeah,
But yeah, it's been really cool to yeah, see you grow. It's um I think that's part of the magic of being in the container is like watching this kind of mutual growth
yeah.
um inspires and fuels our own.
Yeah, I think one thing I can add to it is um, like I'm thinking about how to communicate view refinement. 'Cause like you said, that's a lot of what we're doing. Um, so there's like we can have insights and even like into self-emptiness. Like we can realize self-emptiness in that way. But then it seems to not stick around, or like we can only glimpse it in deep meditation or on psychedelics or like just under specific conditions. So a lot of the work is um, refining the view so that your whole life is um, in the context of that insight. Um, so you bring more and more of your life up for review, um, more and more of your patterns up, and then you work with them, and then through transmission and through our different pedagogies being specific um, in how they're coming up, how they're constructed, the assumptions behind them, um, and then those insights that you had, um, they themselves refine, but they also start to spread and become relevant and part of how all those parts of your experience are becoming through all of that karma. Um, and then it's just the way you see the world itself is refined. Um, and it's being constructed from, you could say, a different blueprint. Um, so, yeah, the work of transitioning insight into view refinement,
Mhm.
I think that's where I see the most growth in myself.
Mm.
So that's why I think it's hard to um, convey sometimes. Is it's like, okay, I saw that there's no self, like even before CC, like I had,
Right.
a glimpse of that, but there wasn't like a lasting change. Like the self continued to arise. I continued to um, act selfishly. Like my participation in the world didn't change. Um, and now I can see the self still arises. I'm not going to say the self doesn't arise. Like it's like like we said, one way of seeing that is still useful um, to me is seeing the world through a self. But as that insight deepens, I the way I act changes, and that is a good measuring stick of actual progress of like how am I actually interacting with the world, what's going on in my relationships, what's going on with my job, um, am I taking care of my living space, all of these different things. It's like, are those changing? Is your view actually refining? So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's an important thing to point to because I think yeah, a lot of people have glimpses, have some like whether it be on psychedelics or on retreats or just like life circumstances, but then um, translating that, integrating that into how you live. And um, yeah, and that's can be really challenging to do when there's such a strong, just like gravitational pull back towards like habitual patterns and ways of relating to experience. Can't like overcome or reach, the escape velocity of
Mm.
um, even just the way of relating to the arising of a sense of self and like your how you manage your preferences or insistence on how that aggregation should appear or feel.
Yeah, I think we talk about NCC, it's like all these choices are your choices. Like you're choosing to be the way that you are right now. You're choosing into your suffering, but they're also, you could say, like unconscious in a way. They've just been conditioned onto you, and you just unconsciously choose in that direction over and over. So it can be really confusing or destabilizing if you've had those glimpses. Because you're like, I know the self is dependently arising, like, or whatever your glimpse is. Like, I know this is true, but why does this like keep happening? Why am I still suffering? Why is this? And it's because you just have all these latent tendencies. You've been conditioned in this way. Seeing that the self is empty is not does not remove all of your conditioning. You're still conditioned in the same way you were before. So it's a lot of work to actually start to see how all of that conditioning is happening. So there's a lot more insight there that has to be gained, and a lot of it is reconditioning, but it's also you're not trying to eliminate all of your conditioning either. Um, so yeah, I I feel like that's a lot of the source of a lot of confusion for people. It's like,
Mm.
but I saw it.
Yeah.
You're still conditioned. It's still, yeah, still
Yeah.
have those patterns.
Yeah, it takes a lot of training. It takes a quite a bit of training volume and consistently applying that, not just like a month on and then like 6, 7 weeks off, like the sort of like yeah, it needs to be pretty serious, at least. That it, that doing that creates the conditions where um, you have the greatest chance to see and choose to respond. Hmm. Yeah, we're pretty satisfied in our conversation so far. Got a lot of good stuff. What are there any projects you're working on right now? Anything you're excited about? Or looking forward to?
Mm. Um, I think one thing I'm excited about is our different book studies that are going on
Hmm.
CC. Um, so there's different a number of them, um, and led by very knowledgeable people, like very skilled people. And then of course CC brings in a lot of people that have studied a lot as well, just acolytes and participants, and just going through these texts and then discussing them together is very powerful, and a lot of fun, to see, um, how everyone is, yeah, relating to them. And through the training of CC and training in transmission, it changes how you relate to these texts and read them. Like it totally changed how I, read Dharma texts. And there's so much to be learned. I mean, so much of this stuff has already been mapped out. But to just pick up a book, read it, and understand it is like it takes years and years and years of study to be able to do that. And we have people in CC that have put in that time and work with us directly to help us understand all these teachings, of the greats, and the great greats. So uh, yeah, that's yeah, I have a lot of enthusiasm when we're in those spaces and studying. Um, and there's so much to learn. It's like, and it's all, um, within the context of our pedagogy at CC. So it's like sometimes, there's so much out there. You're like, I don't know what to read. Um, I don't know what's relevant to me right now. Like what some of it is like, I already know all this stuff. And some of it is way over your head. So, with our structure, it's like, okay, this fits into what we're doing right now, fits into the training. This is how it fits in and how we can relate to it with what we've learned so far. Um, and yeah, so it's, it allows me to, has allowed me to build the skill of just how to consume the material in general for my own interests. And then also just yoking with these, um, the mind streams of these great masters that are not here physically anymore.
That's exciting stuff.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Well, cool. I think we can end it there. Um, yeah, really cool to thanks for sharing yourself and your journey so far,
Yeah. Thanks for the invite.
of course. All right, well, yeah, I'll see you soon.
All right. See you, Tyson.
Take care, Jesse.